Welcome to Module 2, where we'll be talking about personality, perception, and just a little bit about attribution. So what we're going to look at is describing individual differences, explaining why those are important, and understanding organizational behavior. So if we're looking at individual differences, what we're going to discuss is this concept of individual differences. The basis for understanding these differences stems from Kirk Lewing's early observations that behavior is a function of the person and the environment he or she is in. So these represent a lot of challenges in the essence of it for management. But the more managers understand individual differences, the better they can work with others, because we know that no two employees are the same. This includes interactual psychology. So if we look at it, that's a psychological approach to understanding human behavior by knowing something about a person or the person and the situation. It helps in understanding individual differences. So if we look at the variables for influencing individual behavior, and you need to study the person, but again, you also have to understand and study the situation, because a person has skills and abilities. They have their personality, their perception, their attribution, attitudes, values, ethics. But the environment is the organization, the work group, the job, the personal life, and all of that plays into the behavior. So if we look at the personality, it's everyone has one. We know that. And it makes us behave in certain ways in a variety of different situations. But we know that it's a relatively stable set of characteristics that influence an individual's behavior, and it lends to consistency. Even twins separated at birth and raised in different environments will share some of the same personality traits, and a lot of the times job preferences. Determinants include heredity, but also it includes the environment. It's shaped by family influences, cultural influences, educational influence, and also other environmental factors. Theories have influenced the study of personality in organizations. There are different ones out there. There's a trait theory that advocates breaking down behavior patterns into a series of observable traits in order to understand the human behavior. There's an integrative approach where it describes the personality as a composite of an individual's psychological processes. And if we look at that, it focuses on the personal dispositions and situational variables as common predictors of behavior. Now, one of my very favorite is the Big Five personality traits, and this is one you're going to do an assessment. It's used by a lot of companies, especially in pre-employment and hiring, and if you've gone through any hiring in the last few years, then you have had some type of personality test that's embedded in it. And again, you're going to have the opportunity to take this test as one of your assignments this week. But if we look at the Big Five personality test, we see that it's going to rank you on your extroversion, or introversion is the polar opposite of that. The person's either gregarious, assertive, sociable, as opposed to reserved, timid, or quiet. So if you see the other extreme, it's extroversion to introversion. You're either agreeable or you're disagreeable. So the person is either cooperative, warm, and agreeable, rather than cold, disagreeable, or antagonistic. Conscientiousness. This person is hardworking, organized, and dependable. The other end of the spectrum is opposed to lazy, disorganized, or unreliable. And then emotional stability. The person is either calm, self-confident and cool, as opposed to insecure, anxious, and depressed. And that's it's emotional stability, calm all the way to nervous. And then you're either open to new experience or you're closed-minded. So an open to experience person is that person that's creative, curious, cultured, rather than practical with narrow interest. So if we look at personality characteristics in organizations, can managers predict the behaviors of their employees? Well, not really. But it also depends on situational variables to predict behavior. When you put people in different situations, and situations vary in strength, it's important to realize that. There's strong situations that overwhelm the effects of an individual's personality by providing strong cues for appropriate behavior. The employee, they know how to respond in that situation. They know they need to act in a certain way. The textbook gives us the example of a performance evaluation. Most people know how they're supposed to act in that situation. But then there's weak situations that are open to interpretation. And they provide few cues on how to act. An informal meeting without an agenda might be a weak situation where people can respond really any way they want to. Locus of control, that's the individual's generalized belief about an internal control versus external control. People who believe they control what's happened to them have an internal locus of control, whereas people who believe they, the others out there, or circumstances control their fate, have an external locus of control. I will tell you that people with an internal locus of control have higher job satisfaction, superior job performance, and they're more likely to get into a managerial role. And knowing locus of control can be extremely important for managers. Other characteristics, general self-efficacy. That's the individual's general belief that one is capable of meeting the job demand in a wide variety of situations. It results in higher job satisfaction and performance. And employees with high general self-efficacy have more confidence in their job-related abilities, other resources, energy, or even their influence over others. But if it's low general self-efficacy, then they feel ineffective at work and they don't like new tasks. And then self-esteem. It's an individual's general feeling of self-worth. High self-esteem people perceive themselves to have strengths as well as weaknesses, but they believe their strengths are more important than their weaknesses. High self-esteem people perform better, but sometimes it can be too much of a good thing. And success tends to raise your self-esteem. Failure tends to lower it. Self-monitoring. This is one of my favorite. It's the extent to which an individual bases his or her behavior on cues from other people and situations. It's those people that have an on-off switch. High self-monitors demonstrate higher level of managerial awareness. They work better in work teams because they know how to walk into a room, they know how to read a room, and then they know if they need to put on the charm or if they need to back it off, but they know how to monitor themselves and they know when they are reaching the edge. Positive or negative affect. These are individuals that have a tendency to emphasize either positive or negative aspects of oneself, other people, and the world in general. I will tell you, individuals with positive, they're more happy in their jobs, likely to help others, fewer absent days. Also, they influence the group. It's an asset to have a positive person. They're going to give you better working conditions. They're going to be the people that you want on your team. Proactive personality. They identify opportunities and they act on them. Better career success, better job search success. Proactivity has been positively related to job performance, career success, and job search success. These type of people are viewed as charismatic by their subordinates. Common personality measurement tools. There are several tools designed that can be used to measure personality. There's projective tests. That elicits an individual's response to an abstract stimuli. This is a test where individuals are shown a picture or an abstract image. They're shown photos and asked to describe what they see. Now, this is low reliability. The ink blot test, Rorschach test, you've probably heard about that. It's not the most reliable test to have out there. In fact, most behavioral sciences have taken that off of their list. Behavioral measures, it involves observing an individual's behavior in a controlled situation. Again, this can be a flawed method because many times people just are not going to behave the way that they really would behave if they're in a conversation or it's in a controlled situation. They're not going to behave as they normally would. A self-report questionnaire. That involves the individual responses to a series of questions. The MMPI is one of those tests, and if you've ever tried to get in law enforcement, you took the MMPI. But people, again, they answer how they want to be seen, not necessarily who they are. I'm going to wrap up this lecture here, and then we're going to come back and talk about the MBTI and a little bit about that. And you're going to be doing the MBTI this week along with the Big Five.